in chips so far. But more than our past achievements, today is about how we are racing together into the future. It is the confirmation that we are taking on together the exciting challenge of developing a brand new 100% advanced sustainable fuel for 2026, a project that is already well underway. And it's our clear commitment to expand our work on sustainable technologies beyond the race car, in line with our bold ambition to become the world's most sustainable professional sports team. I am therefore delighted to welcome Petronas President and Group CEO, Datuk Tengku Mohamed Taufik, and Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 Team Principal and CEO, Toto Wolff, to join me on stage and sign the title partnership agreement. And to officially witness the signing, I would like to invite Petronas Senior General Manager, Datin Anita Azrina Abdulaziz, and Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 Team Marketing Operations Director, Victoria Johnson, to join us on the stage. Thank you. Perfect. So if you'd like to proceed to the first signatures, and then once you've given us an autograph, we'll need to swap the papers and do the same again. So if we can swap the papers over and then... You had one job, Toto, one job. Excellent, thank you very much and congratulations. Now that we've officially signed the renewal documents, we'll invite Datin Anita, Victoria to join Toto and Datuk Tengku to the right of the stage for photos. I'd also like to invite at this point Datuk Zazali Hamza, Executive Vice President Downstream, to join us. And this is also the moment for the photographers, if you'd like to come forward in front of the front row, and then we'll be able to take pictures for the photo call as well. Thank you. All right. Okay, let's start with the group shot.
This may look like a little enlarged picture. How do we arrange this?
Well,
how do we arrange this?
That's how we were planning to arrange.
Okay, okay. All right, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Are we in the center?
You go with the Carlton brothers. Yeah. All this is pretty good.
So everyone into Sept's camera, please, initially. Okay, that's the first one, and then we should do, if we could do, yes. Yeah. Everyone, arms around each other. We'll do initially, and then then we'll thin the picture out in order to be finished with Datuk Tengku and Toto. Okay? Okay, and then if Victoria and Anita can separate off, we'll just, with the three of you?
The three of us.
Perfect. Everyone into Seb again. Oh, one more. Okay, and then if we could conclude with just Datuk Tengku and Toto and a handshake photo as well, just to mark the... Look happy, not like you're arm wrestling. That's it. Pardon? It's just a folder rather than the signing page. I mean, we can get one. You can get the one that... We do the one where you've signed for Pet. Okay. Could we get one of the document folders back over this side, please? Sorry, just for the photo. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, okay. Spare the blushes. Ah, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you to our photographers. Let you, yes, exactly. Now, with those official photos completed, I'd like to welcome Datuk Tengku and Toto back to the stage to tell us a little bit more about this historic partnership agreement. Excellent. So, microphones are next to you. Hopefully, if they're not switched on, it's just flick the switch up, and then there we go. Datuk Tengku, this renewal extends our partnership towards 2 decades between the Mercedes F1 team and Petronas. What is your vision for the future following this commitment to the sustainable F1 project from 2026 onwards?
Thanks, Bradley. It's hard to believe. 12 years have transpired, but the numbers you shared earlier, the 115 victories and the world titles, and most importantly, as you said, more to come. That's definitely something we're hoping to achieve together. It is indeed a challenge not only for Petronas, but any energy player to behave more sustainably, and we can't think of a better partner to test this out with and work on this journey with other than Mercedes-AMG. I think this is the best living lab that we can have access to. Ultimately, of course, as we respond to the changing regulations, there is the ultimate ambition to have Petronas accord these sustainable solutions across to the consumers and the road vehicles. Really, this is part of the largest set of solutions that we want to bring to the market, bring to the end consumers, so we do have, indeed, a sustainable, lower carbon future for all.
And Toto, 2026 is still some way off. Why is it significant we're making this partnership announcement now in September 2022?
It's something we can definitely be proud of because our partnership has gone through from strength to strength, and I think we know what the regulations are going to be in 2026, and they're going to go at least until 2030, and the work has already started. We are literally 10 minutes before 2026, the fuels and oils are developed with the future power unit. And as I said, that has already started. And therefore, we are going to make these development steps together. Petronas' technology is an integral part of the Mercedes power unit and the other way around. And that's why you can't start early enough.
Datuk Tengku, how excited are the teams inside Petronas about the challenge of developing this brand new fuel and taking on a completely new sort of set of technical parameters and considerations?
Glad you brought that up, because this is no normal sponsorship or partnership. This is really being joined at the hip as we respond to the FIA's 2026 regulations. As Toto has mentioned, we have already started work on this. I'm very, very much excited. Well, some quarters in Petronas may be a bit nervous. This is a daunting challenge indeed. But responding with a sustainable solution for the living lab that is Formula One and all the attendant performance requirements and the kind of standards that you have to meet is the kind of hurdle we aspire to always face head on as we respond to the call for cleaner energy as we go forward.
If I may continue with you, Datuk Tengku, how will the continued involvement in F1 benefit the wider Petronas family? There's obviously a technical challenge at the heart, but a partnership that goes far beyond that as well.
Well, I'm going to move away from the usual media spiel and give you the real kind of excitement that our team, our management, our board has witnessed firsthand. I would aspire to have, alongside the fantastic R&D in Turin, the fantastic facilities in Brackley and Brixworth coming together and converging with all the solutions. I would like to add Bangi to that, this little hub in Malaysia, to have all of the technology solutions come to bear. The work is going to trickle over into my colleagues and responding with things as diverse as biofuels through a potential green refinery, sustainable aviation fuels, and that kind of solution set and the products that we can bring to the market, really testing it out, providing a ready solution for the team as well as F1 at large, has an impact that goes beyond the current generation. I've seen firsthand how Toto has hosted very generously many of our students We've got even our interns out there, and I think if there is any technical challenge that is as daunting as F1, and students from Petronas being interned there are given the due exposure, really, the bar and the invitation is open for anyone to participate within science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This is the ultimate challenge. This is what Petronas was built for. We intend to rise to it together as a team with Toto. And everyone, of course.
Absolutely. And Tete, maybe from your side, I know you talk often about how the factory in Brackley and Brixworth as well, they feel like campuses full of young, energetic people, students, and lots of new starters as well. What do the Petronas interns and their enthusiasm bring to the team when they're working with us in the UK?
So we had the Petronas interns program for a while, and I must say that generally the buzz that we have going on in Brixworth and in Brackley with the younger people and the Petronas interns is fantastic. It's a get-together that I always enjoy doing. It's at the beginning of the internship, and it's at the end of the internship. As I am also not a British guy, I warn them of the weather, because obviously that comes as a shock if you come from Malaysia and you end up in Brackley. But actually this year, for the first time, none of them complained about it. So we had a tough group this year. But it's really nice to see the enthusiasm and the opportunity they have. And they know that, to be abroad for 6 months, to learn from the team. So it's great. And at the end, I get a presentation what they've done, which department they have worked for, and also which cities they have visited. And that is also good fun. They end up in some weird places. Like I think they were in some mountain resort in Switzerland. And I said, who chose that? I said, well, that was on the map. It was obvious. There was a good flight, the connection, a cheap one.
Obviously, they're having too much fun, too.
I shouldn't have said that. No, I put them into really trouble now.
And Toto, we see partners, sponsors come and go in Formula One, yet Petronas and Mercedes have been sort of bound together now for what will be at the end of this contract, 20 years of partnership. How important is it to have a long-standing partnership like that, not just from the technical point of view, but also marketing-wise and, you know, for brand value as well, as the sport is in the growth phase it's enjoying at the moment?
20 years, that's a proper relationship, and that can only be done if the partners share the same values, and it's very much around the integrity and loyalty to each other. We like to depend from each other. We have been successful so far, and we will be in the future, but we don't take it for granted, neither do we have any sense of entitlement. But it's become natural. Green is our racing color. And that is not only for the Formula One team, but it's in the wider Mercedes-AMG family. And when we started discussing whether we would extend it for another almost 10 years, 8 years, we knew that we have a responsibility towards both brands. And so we did it eyes wide open. We're committing to each other again. We've been so successful from the 2014 regulations onwards, and we know how tough it will be against our competitors in 2026, but we can do that together.
And finally, Datuk Tengah, how excited are you to see not just the on-track challenge, but the holistic approach that Petronas can bring to effectively powering the team wherever we move, be it in the air, on the sea, or on the road, that there are applications and sustainable technologies out there that can help both our companies drive towards a better future together?
Well, this is a challenge that any engineering student would relish, but as a firm to respond holistically to the challenge of making F1 competitive, exciting, and sustainable within the regulations that are going to be rolled out in 26. Now that's got to be the ultimate technological challenge for an enterprise with our ambitions to take on. The wider reach of Petronas will also encompass, and I do hope you have the chance to reach out to my EVP here, probably is getting some stomach cramps as I speak. Sustainable aviation fuels, hydrogenated vegetable oils, the kind of transport solutions that can be rolled out to the wider market and reach the consumers and be a part of their lives, I think that's the kind of challenge that any energy company should want to take on.
And maybe let me add to this. For Mercedes and Petronas, Formula One is the fastest racing lab, the fastest laboratorium in the world. Yeah. What we do is we deploy on 2 racing cars and we are benchmarked against the toughest competitors out there. So whatever we are able to achieve in that environment is going to be fit for purpose in all the other markets. And I think beyond the cooperation on the sustainable fuels for the racing car, what we will be doing on sustainable aviation fuels for our charters, what we aim to do in terms of biofuel for our trucks that move from track to track, I think we can be a blueprint for all the other industries. Because if you make us move more sustainable, everybody else can do that. Because we move around the globe, we're having 24 races around the world. So hopefully we can give an impulse with your technology for other industries to follow suit.
Clearly exciting times ahead for Petronas and for the team, both here in Malaysia and in the F1 paddocks. On that note, I'd like to open the floor to questions, if we can, from our guests from the media. And if, when asking them, you can just give us also your name and publication, that would be greatly appreciated. Then we can follow clearly who is asking which questions. So if I can please open the floor to questions now, and just raise your hand and a microphone will come your way. We have a first question.
Have we got it? Yeah. I think you've just stunned them into submission, Toto.
In Malaysia, it's always the culture is so discreet that it needs an impulse.
Do we have a question?
The first one on the floor. Oh, here we go. I think one.
Right. Ibrahim from Reuters. Can we get how long is the contract again?
Sorry, you broke off there.
Sorry, you just came away from the mic.
The contract. Can you tell us how long is the contract and a bit of detail about the contract?
We anticipated this question. I think it was actually alluded to. It's by the end of this decade. So this is a renewal to respond to the 26 regulations, but it's going to stretch out all the way to 2030.
Next question, please. Do you have anything further from the floor? If not, then we can perhaps just, Toto, delve a little into the weekend that's awaiting us in these final 6 races as well. It's been a challenging 2022, but...
so we are on the way to Singapore. And this year has been a challenge. As Bradley alluded to, we've won 8 consecutive Constructor World Championships. We ended up on as everybody knows, more controversial driver title situation end of last year. But with these brand new regulations, those cars have some intricacies that we struggled to find out at the beginning of the season. I think we understand today what it is, but the car concept can't be changed easily within a season. So there are tracks that suit us. Somebody's calling you. There are tracks that will suit us more than others. Singapore on paper should be good, but emphasis on paper. It is a twisty circuit where our car could be in a happy place, but it's also bumpy, and we had generally some ride issues all over the year. But it is a test for us. We want to win at least a race this season. We've been close on a few occasions. And hopefully we have another 6 to go. But most importantly, we have to learn. Next year is going to be a fantastic new opportunity. And whatever we learn in the very precious limited track time that we have this year is going to help us for next year.
And that's it, maybe taking a slightly different look at Formula One at the moment in this season. We can see the sport's in a huge growth phase. We've seen Drive to Survive conquer a new audience and a new public around the world. Yeah, we've seen certain people banging desks a little bit as well and things like that. But
I'm not proud.
I looked worse next to you, so come on. How, from a sort of major stakeholders' point of view, do you view the development of Formula One as a platform and as a platform for the Petronas brand as well over recent years?
I think there is a deep-rooted and unshakable sense of pride that Petronas Fluid Technology Solutions is part of the performance that has powered the team to such great heights. I mean, with these kind of constructors' victories, the kind of championships delivered, 115 wins, this is not something that can easily be removed from the DNA and belief of every Petronas executive. There's an inherent faith that we will be able to step up no matter how tough the regulations will be, how tough the sustainability challenge is. So on a wider level, every time Toto mutters interesting language under his breath and it gets caught and broadcast to millions on Netflix, we silently cheer, because that can only lift the profile of how much high performance drives the ethos of the team, and indeed I hope it trickles through the wider Petronas family.
Wonderful. Datuk Tengku, Toto, thank you both very much. I'll ask you just to pause if you can as you leave the stage to our left, because just at the edge of the room, I can see the two people who get to experience all of that hard work and development from our teams in the UK and here at Petronas. So please, for the audience, can you welcome Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, who will also pause just down at the bottom of the stage for a little bit of photography first, and then join me up here. Thank you very much. Brian will direct, so Lewis this side of Tengku, and then George in the middle, I think, of... There we go. Okay, I think we're good. So if I can ask, please, Lewis and George to join me up here on stage. Oh. Let the audience take their seats, and yeah, Lewis and George, welcome up to our Q&A. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
So, Lewis, I'm going to come to you first. We landed this morning at sort of bright and early time. How does it feel to be back in KL?
Well, it's morning for us, but good afternoon to everyone. We're staying on UK time, so because the race in Singapore is a night race, so we try and stay on that time zone. But it's always great coming back to KL. I was in the car with Toto coming from the airport. We've experienced the hardcore traffic in the morning, and but just driving past the old circuit we used to go to, just reminiscent of the great times we used to have when we used to come racing here. And my favorite thing about coming here is seeing the two towers, because they're just so iconic, and then just seeing all the team members, just knowing that there's such a huge team of people here that are right behind us. Every single race weekend throughout the year, we know that we have such a great force back here supporting us, and without that we wouldn't have the success that we've had all these years. So it's a privilege, and I've obviously, it's my 10th year with you guys, and I'm so grateful that you're continuing with us to have the achieved so far, but no, there's going to be so much more up ahead, so thank you.
I mean, it's not been 10 years, it's barely even been 10 months since you first came here, I think, back in April, just after the borders opened. So what do you think of KL? How would you make of our title partner's home city and all it has to offer?
Yeah, as you said, it's only my second time here in KL, and I love it, to be honest. Everybody's so welcoming, so friendly, and the culture over here is certainly very different to what we have in Europe, and I think that's so special to experience that, and how everybody always has a smile on their face. Everybody here, and as Lewis said, you know, seeing the towers is so iconic, and you can see them from miles away. Also, when I was coming from the airport, I tried taking a photograph on my iPhone, and it was so far away. The photo was awful, but it's just, you just see how special that is. So yeah, pleasure to be back, and to many more years.
I think you both got a chance to go up the towers a little bit later and up on the Sky Bridge as well. So that will be fun. And Lewis, we've just announced the renewal of the partnership, not from now, but from 2026 onwards. I mean, you spent a career with Mercedes in Formula One. You've never driven a power unit powered by, or a car powered by any other engine. How important is that sort of long-term trusted partnership, not just in your career, but also for the team as a whole?
Well, I think longevity and loyalty is such important values that that I think businesses need to have as an integral part of the way they operate. And I think also it takes time to build relationships. It takes time to put in infrastructure. It takes time, as everyone knows here, how long it takes to develop something. We're experiencing something like that just in this season. We've had a difficult car to work with, and it's taken the whole year for us to really get on top of and steer us in the right direction for next year. But just over these years, just seeing the development, I remember that in the first couple of years, seeing the little upgrades that you have along the way, where you'd have like almost a tenth of a second of power. Those were the really, really exciting days. And I know that moving forwards, there's going to be more of those, particularly as we're moving towards more sustainable fuels, moving towards more electrification, which is also exciting. I mean, we have more power today than we've ever experienced. I think our generation has ever experienced, or my generation experienced in Formula One. And the reliability has been such a key element in winning these titles. I remember when I first got to Formula One, I don't think we were up in even the 80 percentile for reliability as well. We've been up in the 90s for years. And such a huge part of that is to the amazing work that Petronas has put in, and to the expertise that you brought to the table. So I remember I used to get to the end of the pit lane, we used to be able to sit there and wait for ages when none of the other teams could do that. The power delivery, and the consistent power delivery through race upon race upon race, when you would have big deg on these engines. That's something that I've always experienced with Petronas. So yeah, I'm excited and just so focused on getting us back to where we belong. And I truly believe we can do that next year. But it's not an easy, it's not like it's just going to happen overnight. That's going to take a lot of dedication, a lot of work, really digging deep, every single one of us. But I think everyone's up for the challenge. So,
if I may stay with you, Lewis, just for one more question. Long-term projects, there's also a journey that you are on to try and change our sport in terms of diversity and representation, a journey you're on together with our team as well. And I think over the 10 years you've worked with Petronas, Petronas have always given a fantastic example, for example, of senior female leadership across the partnership and across the company as well. Tell us a little bit about how that work is progressing and how much it means to you and to the team as well.
Yeah, I would say out of all the companies that I've worked with, Petronas is the leader in all the brands that I've worked with in terms of how diverse. That was when I first came here and went into the towers and saw the different levels and saw how diverse it is in terms of minority, in terms of gender specific. There's just such a wide range of people here at Petronas, which was great to see, and particularly female leadership, I think, is amazing. And this not something that we see in our sport. It's always been a male, white-dominated sport, but I think the great thing is we're on a journey now and a pathway now to try and improve that, try and improve the pipeline for particularly for POC, but particularly like young youth that would never normally have the opportunity in the harder communities into getting into STEM subjects. But it's not only STEM subjects. I mean, that's a really important factor in getting more engineers in, but it's covering all the bases because there's from catering to marketing to, there's thousands of jobs within the industry. So we've started Ignite with the team. That's something I'm really, really proud of. When I sat with Toto last contract negotiation, I've been with Mercedes since I was 13, and I was like, I don't want to just be a driver for you anymore. Like, what can we do? How can we have some serious impact within the industry and outside of the industry? And, really, it's great winning world titles, but what does it really mean if you're not helping people, if you're not impacting and changing people's lives? So that's what we're embarking on. So Ignite is working on mostly motorsport, and I've started my own Mission 44 foundation, which is more focused on the real kind of systemic issues within society, within education. And we have now plans ahead, like for example, with Ignite, we're trying to get 8,000 young girls into the sport, and that's underway. We have a lot more, some serious targets, and I would say that it feels like it's moving slow because you just want it to happen now, but it takes time to implement these things and get people in. But there's been a great reaction so far, and lots of work up ahead. But as I said, Petronas know all about that, and so I'm grateful that we're partnering on that.
Great, thank you. You mentioned great reactions. I'm going to sort of slight change of pace to you, George. The supporters here in Malaysia have always been huge supporters of the team and given us great backing from within Petronas as well. I think you're going to get your first taste of that at fan engagement over in the towers a little bit later on. How excited are you to also be getting back to actually having contact with the fans and, not being distanced, not being covered in masks or just doing things through a screen?
Absolutely. I think it's something that a lot of us didn't, or we took for granted prior to the pandemic, and when we had all of these restrictions in place, that the fans are truly the people who make this sport what it was and what it is. And it's always so exciting to go to these fan activations. And even when Lewis and I were last here, we had some photo shoots in one of the Petronas petrol stations, and just seeing all the people there to support us for for a simple photo shoot was incredible. To firstly know that we were there and spend their time watching and seeing what was going on. It really does give you a special feeling of what we do is incredible. Racing these fast racing cars around the world, around the best circuits in the world, but seeing the reaction that has on all of these supporters really gives you goosebumps. So yes, actually looking forward to it.
Speaking looking forward, this weekend in Singapore, other drivers are talking about it potentially being the toughest challenge of the season so far with this generation of car. What are you expecting?
I don't think it's going to be easy from a physicality perspective. I think just for us coming to KL, and when we walk outside and you feel the heat, you feel the humidity, we're certainly not used to that. So I think we're going to be sweating inside of that race car. But I think it always offers an opportunity. I feel like these difficult situations, difficult circuits, difficult climates, if you're the one putting the extra work in, working harder than your competitors, that can give you that edge. So even though I know it's going to be an incredibly difficult weekend from our perspective, sat inside of that car, sweating it out on one of the toughest circuits of the year, I feel like that gives us an opportunity to try and beat our rivals. So, I'm really excited for the weekend. I think we've made a lot of progress throughout this year, and I think what's also really incredible for me with the partnership with Petronas is seeing that this is obviously one of the toughest years that the team has endured in 8 or 9 seasons, yet Petronas are still with us, and we have this agreement in place for the long term. So I think that loyalty and that partnership is excellent, and certainly looking forward to the future.
And before we open 2 questions, and I'll warn you guys, everyone was a little bit shy earlier, so we may not get many coming back. But as we look ahead to these last 6 races, Lewis, are there any that you've got sort of circled on the calendar as potential places that might be there for, a win might be there for the taking, or is it just a question of taking it each one as it comes and seeing how they unfold?
I think what we've discovered this year is you just never know with the circumstances that we're faced with each weekend. You can never really pre-plan. We get on the simulator and it can feel good, or it can not feel good, and then you get to a track and it'll be complete. For example, Zandvoort, it was completely different. You didn't feel like there was a lot of grip on the simulator, and then we got to the track and it was amazing. So really don't know what to expect. I would say that just that week on week, we're discovering and understanding more about the car. We're understanding more about the operating window, where the car works and where it doesn't, in terms of ride height, in terms of downforce and efficiency. I would say Singapore it should be a good track for us because it's a high downforce circuit. However, it is bumpy, and we won't know until we get there how good a job the company's done that they've hired to resurface the track. If we go back to somewhere like the British Grand Prix, like a year or so ago, when they resurfaced it, it was the bumpiest thing ever. So you just never know with these companies nowadays. But I think Singapore will be great. Hopefully, I really hope we can compete strong there. And then Brazil, I think, could be a good one as well. And maybe Mexico. Abu Dhabi might be the harder one for us because it's very, very long straights and it's about less drag, but also carrying the downforce. So, yeah, we're just going to be pushing as hard as we can. And as I said, each weekend we're getting more comfortable in the car as well. And not having so much of the balancing issue. But I'm still going on. The other day I went on an event with the team, and I was driving one of those, an off-road car, and I was going proper off-road all over bumps, and I was like, okay, I'm used to this now, because I've experienced it earlier in the year.
We heard there's an outtake where you may have suggested it felt better than the F1 car does on track this year.
Well, we don't have any suspension on the car this year, so it definitely was feeling smoother, but that's the kind of ride we need quality-wise for next year.
Great. So, again, I'll open the floor to questions, if there are any from our media representatives. Yes, we have a raised hand in the front row.
Hi, this is Adam Ham. I think you remember me asking you a question last season. This time you actually have George next to you. What sort of a chemistry on the positive end that you have as compared to Bottas? And do you have a high confidence that you will end up at least on second place for the team? Thank you.
Well, firstly, just in terms of the chemistry, I like to think it's worked really well between us this year. George has actually been with the team for longer than this year. He's obviously been he was in one of the GP Formula 2, for example, coming up. He was always a part of the teams for a while. So we've traveled together before. He's been in the engineering room on race weekends with us. So it was a very, very easy, I would say, easy transition for George coming in this year. And I think we've worked really well towards both trying to understand the car, and he's done a fantastic job in scoring amazing points for the team. Our goal is to try and get second for the team, because that does make a huge impact for everyone back at the factory. And so these next 6 races is just about maximum attack, nothing to lose, and we're just going to give it hell.
It's certainly, I think, as Lewis said, fighting for second in the Constructors' Championship is not what we set out for at the start of the year, because we set out to win. But given the circumstances, I think if we can achieve that second place in the Constructors' Championship, it'll be a huge boost for all of us back at the factory, and also probably quite a huge blow to our rivals in Ferrari, who started the season with the fastest car and looked like the team going on to win the championship. So, psychologically it could be quite important, but nevertheless, to see that improvement we've made through the season, even if we don't quite manage to achieve second in the team's championship, I think it's looking really good going into next season with that progress and how we've managed to close that gap substantially to Ferrari, to Red Bull. So that in itself is really exciting.
Do we have any further questions from the floor?
Hi, I'm Nazrin from Bernama. First of all, welcome back, Luis. And my question is, just now you said you went to the old circuit this morning. Just
Oh no, we just drove past it. We were just on the road from the airport, so we knew it was just over there in the bushes, in the field somewhere. It's just.
I see. But then the question is related to the old circuit. What's on your mind when you return back to Sepang and knowing the circuit is there?
That track was amazing to drive. It would be epic to drive it in this type of car, particularly in last year's car. It would have been amazing. But it was always the toughest race, I would say, for me, physically. You know, it was midday roasting. I mean, it's so hot here. And I remember I remember my first race here in 2007. I think I finished second, and that was my second podium of my career in my second race. And I lost just over 4 kilos in that race. I just remember how hard it was, even to this day, just getting out the car. And the emotions I went through that race, just because being at my second Grand Prix, not making a mistake, bringing in the points for the team, and really trying to deliver. It was pretty epic. And then just over the following years, just we've had so many different experiences of it just being so hot, but then also the rain you have here. Sometimes when it rains, it really rains. And yeah, I am sad that we don't get to use that track anymore. But I heard it's still used, at least with MotoGP. So I do get to watch the race on TV. But maybe one day we can do an event there, maybe. I don't know. We can come back and do some driving there.
Luis, I have another question for you. Luis, you only have 6 races left to end your dry spell and maintain your record for the most consecutive seasons in F1 with at least 1 GP victory. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate to have worked with so many great people throughout my career. And the one thing for sure, we've eventually got a win in every season since 2007. And it's something I'm really proud of, but I'm not really passionate about records. For me, it's more about the journey together with the team this year. It's all about the hard work. It's something these guys are the men and women that come into the racetrack each weekend, but also everyone back at the factory that are right on the edge of their seats throughout the weekend. Everyone's working so hard. They get back Monday morning and they're back in it. There's just not a day of rest for anybody. And so I'm very, very proud of everyone for how they've handled this difficult year that we've had and the difficult challenges we've had through the season. The ability to stay focused, to keep staying positive through the year, and no one really dropping their heads. Everyone's just been super diligent and trying to. That's been motivating for me to see, and that's encouraged me to do the same. We've got six races, so that's 6 opportunities to try and get that win. And I would love that. I would love to be able to deliver that for the team. But if we don't, I don't think it's the end of the world. We will get back to the top. It's just, as I said, back in the background, there's a huge amount of work that needs to go on. It's so complex, the car that we have this year, and even going into next year with the budget, with the cost cap, etc. So it's pretty phenomenal what the team have done anyways, even this year. And yeah, we just need to I need everyone to keep their fingers crossed. We need all the positive energy we can. And hopefully we have a positive weekend this weekend.
And I saw one final hand there for a closing question. Oh, yes.
Welcome, Luis. I'm Trigger from AFP. Could we just repeat?
If you could just bring the mic a little closer.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
For the first time in your F1 career, there's a real danger that you may go on entire season without a race win. Can you share your thoughts on that?
I mean, that was what I was just talking about mostly. But I don't see it as a danger. I think about the accomplishment that we have had this year. We've had a car that has been so difficult to, such a tiny operating window. And we started out the season, we were fortunate because we capitalized on, we've done a great job with reliability, for example. So we capitalized on where some of the other teams who perhaps had better base performance but didn't finish the races. And then we went through a really, really difficult phase time as we're trying to develop the car, and then we've come back and we've given the leaders trouble in the mid part of the season towards the end. So yeah, I don't look at it as a dry spell. I look at it as a bit of adversity, and I think that's where you really gain strength. I think we've gained a lot of strength in depth. When you're winning all the time, it's a wonderful thing, but you don't lose it. You don't gain a lot when you win constantly. Of course, that's where we want to be. But when we have difficult races and tough races, and we do our debriefs, that's where we learn the most about the car. That's where we have to dig the deepest, and that's when we learn more about every single individual in the team has to dig deep, and that's where you really learn the most about yourselves, and that's where you progress the most. So I feel like this has been a year of growth, and I think it's been empowering to have an experience like this. There's people in our team that have not been that have joined, for example, in the 7 years or 8 years of dominance that we had, and have only known winning. And so this has been a good experience for all of us, whether you've had success or not. Puts us in a good position, I think, for the future. Yeah.
Great. Well, go on then. We'll squeeze in one final one for you.
All right, thank you. I'm Carl Nunes from Astro Arena, Malaysia. Thank you for having us, everyone. My question to Lewis, since your involvement with the sport itself, right, how do you see the involvement of the cars for the regulations and whatnot, and the rivalry between the other teams? So is this one of the best ever seasons moving forward, 2023, 24? Is this the best?
Honestly, I feel it's been amazing to drive. I drove the car in 2005 car, I think. In 2006 was the first time I drove a Formula 1 car. So I went from a V10, 21,000 RPM, to a V8 with 18,000 RPM. Much shorter, more nimble cars. I've driven tires that have grooves in them, slick tires. We've gone to a car with huge front wing and small rear wing, and now into this where we've got this huge ground effect. And then also, I've been a part of the hybrid era since 2009, so I've been a part of that development with Mercedes back in 2009, and the development that we now have also. So it's been interesting, and I would say, I don't know if the racing's better this year. You still have the top teams that are just able to squeeze that little bit more out that we've seen every single year. I do think we're moving towards a time, hopefully, that, particularly with the cost cap, that hopefully the teams all slowly progress closer to each other and we have better racing moving forwards. There have been some races this year where we can follow better than we have in the past, not everywhere, but I'm hoping that that improves in the following years.
Great. Well, with that, I'm afraid we'll have to bring the press conference to a close. I know, George, Lewis, you both have busy commitments, so we'll let you head on to those as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And for the information of the media, a full press release has been issued while we've been here at this press conference. Photo release will be coming out soon, and a video news release as well, with the full details of the partnership announcement. So thank you all very much for your time and your attention, and wishing you a very good afternoon. Thank you.